It was a big deal for Sean Payton back in New Orleans for the first time as the coach of the Broncos. Look at him kind of taking it all in out there. He was having a few moments. And another guy who had a moment last night was his longtime quarterback, Drew Brees. He went into the Saints Hall of Fame last night, and candidly, the Saints could have used him last night. Let's just pick things up. 10 minutes left in the second quarter. Broncos are up 6-0, and then Bo Nix, and here's Troy Franklin for a nice game.
Listen, Bo Nix is finding his groove. I know he hasn't thrown a lot of touchdown passes, but he's efficient. He's getting the ball out just like Peyton wants him to.
That's his former college teammate was Troy Franklin, and that's Javonte Williams untouched. 16-3 Denver at halftime. It's 19-3 in the third. And you know what Bo Nix can do, Bart? He can do this.
I tell you what, Prescott, this is untouched. This is great play design right here. I was surprised that the Saints defense laid an egg yesterday. That's the strength of their team.
Richard Sherman suggested at halftime they were trying to get their coach fired. That's how bad their defense was last night. Javonte Williams had a couple of touchdowns, 26-3. And then just for good measure or bad measure, depending on which side you're measuring, Spencer Rattler, that's not what he had in mind. Cody Barton goes 52 yards the other way. The Broncos blow out the Saints. 33-10 is your final score. So that's how Week 7 started. Hopefully, there will be much better games as we go, including the one coming Sunday night in Pittsburgh. Davante Adams will make his Jets debut, according to their interim head coach, Jeff Ulbrich. Meanwhile, the Steelers head coach, Mike Tomlin, has yet to name a starting quarterback. But if you listen to Justin Fields and Russell Wilson yesterday, it sounds like a change is a-coming.
First game of the year for me, but, I've been fortunate to be in a lot of first games. So the confidence is there, obviously.
I don't think I played, good enough, if I'm being real with you. If I'm being real with myself, I think if, I did play well enough, I don't think there would be, any sort of who should be playing, who should not.
All right, so all week long, I've been thinking that Mike Tomlin wants to keep the Jets guessing, and maybe that's what he's. All kidding aside, these are two completely different quarterbacks to prepare for. So, what can you tell us about the starter on Sunday night?
I think he's keeping his own team guessing to a certain extent. My understanding is what happened at the beginning of the week is Tomlin told his staff, get both guys ready, and I'll make a decision late in the week who it's going to be as the starter. Now, since then, we've seen Russell Wilson get a lot more first-team reps than he was getting previously. We've heard these comments that indicate that Russell at least expects to start and that Justin Fields expects Russell Wilson to start. My understanding as of last night was no decision was finalized, but I think obviously we're at the point now where it needs to be today or tomorrow. And even if Russell Wilson does start, I do believe there are going to be plays where you might see Justin Fields, because going into week 1 before Wilson got hurt, that was the Steelers' plan. So the offensive coaching staff has had to design 2 different game plans this week, one for if Wilson starts and one for if Fields starts, and we're going to find out here sometime in the next day or two which one it will be.
I'm not an expert, and Bart, you didn't play offense, but that sounds like a lot of work, trying to put together 2 completely, forgetting the opposing side now, for the Steelers themselves to put together 2 completely different offensive game plans. You tell me what that means for them.
Chaos, right? Because if they have, multiple, quarterbacks, then you talk about hard counts, you talk about play calling, you talk about changing. That's a lot for the offensive line to adjust with, right? Because the inflection of the voices, everybody does things a little differently. Like quarterbacks, when you talk about 7-step drops, so one person's 7-step drop isn't the same as someone else's. And so I think, listen, it's going to be tough, but the Jets would much rather, I believe, prefer to play against Russell Wilson. I know if I was a defender, I would much rather play against a sitting duck. The Jets struggle against stopping the run, and Fields in his 5 touchdowns presents a challenge with the Jets, who's struggling with stopping the run. So I'd much rather have a guy where I know where he's going to be with receivers that I'm not afraid of.
All right, the offices of Greenberg and Tannenbaum are now officially open. What do you think of the situation in Pittsburgh with the 2 QBs?
Right decision, wrong week. Similar to what Bart said. Look, right now, Pittsburgh can't get the ball down the field. Justin Fields, 27th in the league in yards per drop back. They need more explosive plays. But similar to what Bart just said, Greeny, what's the Achilles heel of the New York Jets? We saw it against San Francisco on opening day. We saw it Monday night against the. They can't stop the run, especially consistently. Arthur Smith, their offensive coordinator, Mike Tomlin, they'll run it every play. Yeah. They know how to win games. So to me, I understand the reason they need more explosiveness. This is not the week, though, to win this game against this opponent, they got to run the ball. That's what Justin Fields does.
So you're saying you believe because of Justin Fields' ability to contribute in the run game?
Yeah, he makes your run game work better because he presents a threat that the other team has to pay attention to. And at this point in his career, Russell Wilson doesn't. I'm trying to figure out what we've seen from Russell Wilson over the last couple of years and what we've seen from this year's Steelers that makes you think that putting Russell Wilson in would give them more explosive plays. He's not bringing a bunch of new receivers with him, right? Like they have what they have.
Well, we saw Adam Schefter give us that big menu the other day. They need to add a receiver without question.
But they're not going to do it today.
Well, but they also need to add to the playbook. And who knows if Justin Fields can be able to do the sophisticated playbook. So maybe this allows Arthur Smith to go to a different chapter in the book because Russell Wilson can digest a lot of those plays.
To pick up the point you were just making, though, if you're running win, lose, or draw Sunday night, if you're the Steelers general manager, are you looking to add a wide receiver?
That is non-negotiable. I will add a receiver before the trade deadline, which is in 2.5 weeks. And look, I know Deontay Johnson's not coming back, but maybe there's a lot of other guys out there.
Christian Kirk, like you look at the place that should be selling.
Mike Williams.
Yeah,
like this guy.
I don't know if the Jets will help, their component, somebody who's fighting.
Maybe just bring Mike and just leave him in Pittsburgh.
Is that really helping?
But Greedy, here's something that's like, as you would say, sneaky big news. Through the first 6 games, the Steelers have outscored the Jets by 11 points, so it's not all broken there. They have a great defense, and to me, go add a piece. We saw the Bills do it. Obviously, saw the Jets do it. Go add a receiver. That's going to help.
They've been trying. They were in on Ayuk, right? They tried to get in on Davante Adams. They've been trying. I think they'll do something.
Davante Adams got in on himself, right? He basically got himself traded to the Jets, and that deal is now done. And with him there, as we sort of flip to the other side of this very important Sunday night game.
Out of excuses. Like, it's simple as that, out of excuses. And this is the easiest damn schedule the Jets will ever have.
You ain't lying.
The easiest. I looked at it, I'm like, my God, why can't they go undefeated? They're not going to because this team's not playing worth a damn. But it's like, come on. Like, this schedule, you got 2 of the worst teams in the league in your own division, Miami and the Patriots. You got Buffalo's not even close to the team they've been. If you can't do it now, like, it's so set up.
Is that right?
It is. I mean, they should be competitive in a lot of these games. I think they should win a lot of these games. You look at the Houston games, the only one where you say, okay, maybe this is 60-40.
Let's put it up, Cindy, so people can see what the schedule actually is. Go ahead, Bart.
And Davante Adams is the skeleton key. The issue is when you hear Aaron Rodgers speak, you have to pay attention to the words very closely. He's talking about guys not knowing where to go. Mike Williams, he threw to the red line, threw it to a spot. We're going to hear that later in the show when we talk about Dallas. But you talk about running to a spot. Well, Davante Adams knows where to go to those spots. Alan Lazard knows where to go to those spots, but he can't catch the football. You know what I mean? He's a guy that's not a high percentage pass catcher. So now
outside of that, he's a terrific player,
Yeah, so now Davante Adams are going to get those targets, and it's going to unlock the running game because now you have to ask yourself, am I going to go 2 high safeties and then leave the box real light so Breece Hall can eat, or am I going to drop that guy down and leave my corner one-on-one with Davante Adams or Garrett Wilson?
I'm always amused by Dan Graziano's, sort of,
look,
as you surmise, the things that are going on with the Jets. If they lose this Sunday night, then what happens?
If they lose, we'll get to find out whose fault it was. Like, that's the cool thing about the Jets right now.
Or sign someone else.
We have transparency.
You got total transparency. The quarterback comes out and tells you whose fault it was, even when it's his. He'll admit that.
Self-reports.
But to me, look, Davante Adams is a good player. We all know that, and he'll help the offense. But this team needs a lot of help in their front seven. I would have loved to see them take that draft capital and put it into the defense and say, we have Mike Williams, we have Malachi Corley. Let's get those guys better. Let's coach them up. And what's best for us is helping the run defense.
But if you can trade Mike Williams, and I know it's not going to be a robust market for him because he's come off injury, he's not playing well, but he is a good receiver. You can use maybe that salary cap space to try and make a trade with somebody else. I'm looking at Cleveland, Dalvin Tomlinson. If they're selling, I'll try and go get a big guy. The problem is they're getting bullied at the point of attack, and the Jets defense have suddenly become small with a safety playing linebacker and a lot of small guys opposite Quinn, and Quinn is getting double teamed all night.